The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, employer, or company. The content provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal, financial, medical, or professional advice. All discussions of crimes, accusations, or legal matters should be considered alleged unless proven in a court of law. Always seek the advice of a qualified professional with any questions you may have regarding a particular matter. Listener discretion is advised. Enjoy the show. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Out of Control with Mel. I am very excited today to have Matt and Jude because, all right, I'm excited mostly because I got to hang out with Matt and Jude a few weeks ago and we had so much fun and now they're gone. And so we'll have to do that again soon, but it's so great to see you both again today. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so excited, and we're missing California.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
California's missing you.
It was great.
It wasn't long enough, that trip, but it was worth it.
We're back.
Yeah, there'll definitely have to be another one. So I met both of you through CHERIE CURRIE, the one and only, the goddess, the legend, always putting respect on her name. But I met you at her house. She was like, here, you guys meet, talk. And we're like, yay. And then that's what we did for the whole weekend.
I think we fried people's heads with the truth bombs we were dropping. It was like, nice party. Did you know that this is happening in the world?
I know. It's funny. I've enjoyed telling people about that as well. I'm like, and then what happened was... but that was also, I don't want to mention any of it here because we won't tarnish your episode by mentioning what we talked about. But it was really fun that we discovered each other because now we have each other and before we didn't. You guys will just, if you know, you know, and if you don't, you'll have to like be in the private, what's it called? The inside joke. All right. So, but I met you through CHERIE because she is helping to produce your movie.
Yes.
Yeah, she's been the biggest help. Like I can't explain how grateful we are for her. She's just really rocked it out.
It's crazy how we came in contact because she came on, we're members of Gays Against Groomers. She came on our X Space and I hopped on the X Space after she finished talking and I was like saying how grateful I was for her voice because we're producing this film and I was damaged by hormones and double mastectomy and she went straight after the X Space and she watched the trailer on the website. The next thing, my phone's ringing and she's like, oh my God. She's like, I love you guys. I love you guys. Like, how can I help you? And we had a trip planned to do some more filming in Utah. And we didn't know how we were going to get the Airbnb or anything yet. And she turns around and she goes, how much is it? And then from that moment, we got the footage done. And she then was like, I want to be a big part of this film. So she became our executive producer. And we went to go stay with her at her house before the show we went to the other week as well. And she's a wonderful host. She's a wonderful human being. They are coming after her like crazy for using her voice. And we couldn't love her anymore.
No,
like,
she is our rock
perfect
auntie. She's amazing.
She is a legend. She is a true punk.
Yes.
All these people who call themselves punk these days, they have no idea. She is real punk. She is just, she's a wonderful woman.
And that's uncontestable too. Like that's like a fact in history books. So
how punk is it that she hand carved a bear with a chainsaw for our raffle, like in support of the film? So like that's still going on as well. You can buy raffle tickets and you might win some prizes from CHERIE at leavingamy.com. So we extended that a little bit because she's on her tour in UK. We were going to announce the winner this month, but she's like, I'm actually really busy. So we're going to plan to meet up with her at the beginning of December as soon as we can, as soon as she's feeling better as well.
Are you coming back out here?
We don't know yet. Actually, CHERIE last time said she wanted to come see us.
But we did offer. So if she doesn't end up coming to Arizona, then we'll probably be back in Cali.
I'm like, how do I fit into her suitcase and come with her?
You can guys,
I might try to arrange.
We just have to plan, getting together and making that announcement because we want to make it like a special thing where we hop on like a live or something and tell people who won what and then plan all the shipping and stuff. It's going to be a whole thing. So you can still get tickets for that. And yeah, she's been amazing.
Yeah, she might definitely want a road trip buddy as well.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Like,
CHERIE, you heard it here first. I'm full on available. Full on available. I invited myself.
You guys could stay in town and have a little room and we
That
come
would be freaking awesome. The audience, we don't know who's going to see this, you know, so not everyone's going to already know your story. So I guess let's dive in.
Yeah.
We got ahead of ourselves a little bit, didn't we?
No problem. Not, I love it. I mean, I just try to keep everything casual. I tell everybody like I'm no Joe Rogan and I never will be, but that's like my template, which means like we can do anything we want. That's how I roll. Yeah. So, but yeah, I guess let's hear about what leaving Amy is about.
Okay. So, I was born a biological female. When I was 5 years old, I experienced what I now know to be gender dysphoria because I had no idea what it was back then, you know, but the way I first encountered it was my mum took me cove shopping. She took me to the little girl section and I was looking over at the boys going, why is she trying to put me in dresses? Like it just felt wrong. It didn't feel right, you know, it was really, really weird. And I brought it up to my parents and being good parents, they were like, they laughed in my face because I was 5, you know, and 5 years old, don't really understand gender. I thought I was Batman some days, inanimate objects on others. So like it made sense. And then as I got older, going through puberty and things, the feeling got stronger. And then the angle kind of changed a bit. And it was more like, hey, look, you might be a tomboy. That's okay. Or you could end up being a lesbian when you're older. That's also okay. And at the time, like all teenagers, I thought my parents were out to get me, and I got really grumpy about it, and thought they were being so mean. But I've reached adulthood, finally went down the medicalization path, and when I reached nearly 8 years on testosterone, and I'd moved to the United States and started a different brand of testosterone, I started experiencing crazy health issues to the point where I was having seizures. I was having regular tics. I ended up seeing a naturopath doctor who did my bloods, and it turned out the testosterone had caused those things as well as liver damage, and a lot of lethargy was going on for me. And I also ticked the box of a premenopausal, postmenopausal, and pregnant woman all at the same time, which should not even be possible. Yeah, it's literally insane. It turns out the doctor I'd gone to when I arrived in the States, because obviously I'm going for immigration, so I don't have insurance, so I had to go to a clinic that takes people who don't have it. The doctor who saw me Googled what to give me because she had no idea, and ended up prescribing me more than a biological male with a testosterone deficiency would be prescribed. And it was so frequent, the shot as well, that the testosterone wasn't being used up in between doses, so a reserve was building up. And it caused all of these issues. So the documentary is to bring awareness on these issues because, you know, I suffered from dysphoria. I wanted this, and I was an adult and I still got sick. So this is why this should not be being done to minors.
I had a mastectomy too. That was kind of
so I had a double mastectomy right before I moved to the States, like a few months before.
And how old were you?
I was about 20. Was I 29? I was 29.
I think so. We both turned 30. Well, I turned 30 in England when I went to go celebrate. So then you turned 30 when you got here.
Yeah, so I was 29.
So your parents are well out of the picture as far as decision making goes. Yeah.
And it's given me like permanent nerve damage to the point where, like, if I want to cuddle Jude in bed and she lays on my chest, it causes me to spasm. And here's something really crazy about it. When I went to fly to the States, my chest flashed up red on security.
Yeah, right.
And then I got picked for a special search. So like it looks like they might have left some medals in there or something.
We still don't know because we just haven't been able to like really get to regular like medical care because like I've been floundering kind of financially, so to speak, and trying to figure out what to do and just get things together. And I've been so overwhelmed. And when Matt got really sick, like I couldn't focus on anything else. And like everything just kind of like fell through the cracks. You know, we had some savings we were relying on. We went through that, obviously. And then I was like, okay, oh my God, what do I do? I was doing a little bit of light freelancing. It wasn't enough, that kind of thing. And So SEAK helped us start a fundraiser, and that helped us get by for a while. And I found a part-time job recently. It's been okay. It's not, not awesome, but it's something. But it's just been like we just have to take one day at a time kind of thing. And thankfully, I've noticed Matt's symptoms have spaced out quite a bit. The last seizure was in August.
Has there been an adjustment, obviously, in the testosterone?
I had to completely come off it because it was making me so
none.
ill. But then I ended up getting even sicker for a while because my body was in shock from being on it for so long.
Well, you also went on progesterone and finasteride for a brief amount of time to try and balance things out. And I only saw things get worse after that because I think Matt's body was just in shock. And, like, I mean, it's like anyone who's detoxing.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of adjustment and like I thought Matt was going to die in 2023, basically.
I thought I was going to die. Honestly, I did.
That wasn't that long ago.
No, like this time last year, I mean, that's when I thought Matt was going to die, basically. And I was having panic attacks and I didn't know what to do. I mean, I was starting to freak out a bit in 2022, even when we first met, like Gays Against Groomers, we had our first event. I was just starting to realize something was wrong. And
I was struggling. We were doing America Fest and just doing a few interviews and things. My lethargy levels were starting to get really bad, and there was one night where I was like,
you were having seizures in the hotel,
and I was being sick.
Yeah,
we were like,
you couldn't eat anything.
Yeah, I couldn't eat any food, right? So like it got to about after midnight. It was after midnight, and the only place open at that time is Waffle House, and I was so hungry where I couldn't eat that she tried taking me there, and then I was sick out of her car window on the way home because like I couldn't hold anything down. And that's when we first started realizing something was really wrong, but we couldn't quite figure out what it was at the time yet because I'd moved from the UK. Phoenix is really hot. The weather in Arizona in general was hot. My body wasn't adapted, so we thought maybe I'm getting like some kind of heat stroke or something. Maybe that's what's going on. And then it was only when I started realizing that, so before I got put on this terrible dose when I was in the UK, when I'd have my shot, it would make me feel better because I was starting to like dip right before my testosterone shot so I could feel the tiredness. But it got to a point where as soon as I was being given my shot, something felt wrong. And one day she like gave me it and I was like, no, this is the problem. This is something's not right. And then I started being scared of kind of having my shot. So we kind of like started like reducing when it would be given to me. And then
were the doctors telling you anything at that time? Like gas?
No. So I made a post like I think the testosterone is making me sick. And this lovely woman called Busy Gold, she's got a podcast. She reached out and I'd been on her show and things and we're friends, and she was like, I know a guy like in your state in Phoenix who I will pay for you as a gift. Like I will, to make sure you're okay. Like I know you're financially struggling right now. I will pay for you to have this appointment because he was pretty pricey. He's a naturopath and all of that. It's like $500 just for one appointment with him. So she got me booked in, and that's when I had my bloods taken and things and found out what was actually wrong with me. And the crazy thing about this doctor though is when he saw my blood results and he told me what was wrong, and he's a hormone specialist, he was like, I will testify for you in court because this is crazy medical malpractice. Well, I then reached out to him and we started doing the film. And I was like, hey, we're doing a documentary on this. Do you want to be in it? And he said, yes. And then when it got closer to the time, he completely ghosted. And we think it's because he's scared of getting his license taken from him for speaking about the narrative, but he just went crickets.
I mean, all of us messaged him, like me, Steve, Matt, and like it came to a point where I was like, I can't harass this man anymore. Like I'm not, we've all reached out to him just like, and I called the clinic and I left a message, like that kind of thing, and nothing. He just never got back to us. So I mean,
the reality like kicked in because he knew this documentary is probably going to be in the light, and he was worried that he'd get, I mean, I get it, but
because it's one thing to go to court like in a more of a private setting. And we also looked into doing this because like Arizona has this stipulation where there's only so much time you can like sue for personal injuries. We were right on that cusp by the time we were looking into it, and we're like, you know, we were both so stressed out already. We couldn't even imagine like going to court because
Right.
it would have taken so much out of both of us. Matt was fully sick at that time. I was not
I could
well.
I was
Here.
already ill. The thought of standing in a courtroom like would have made it worse. Like
When you say ill, is this like liver stuff? Because that's what I'm picturing. I'm sure it's more than just that, but can you kind of describe?
It was neurological.
It was the liver damage, neurological. So I was having like regular tics, like Tourette's symptoms coming on.
It still happens.
Yeah, I still get that like around the time my cycle would be. It's still messed up. I was having the full seizures. I was like, my skin was breaking out in horrific acne that I've never seen before. Like, because it was just my hormones were so messed up.
You got those crazy headaches.
I was suffering from insane migraines. I didn't have the energy to do anything, and I gained quite a bit of weight at that time because I couldn't move. Like I couldn't even go for a small walk or lift really light weights. Like I had no strength.
Yeah.
Like like we said, we thought I was gonna die. Like
And
there was
how long were you sick like that, and a doctor's still giving you testosterone and not saying anything?
Well, we stopped taking, just like Matt stopped taking it on his own. Like we just completely
I realized something was wrong, but
we
I
just
couldn't
ditched
get
all of
any
it.
healthcare for a while though.
Yeah. Because I was trying to think, like, there was we're still kind of in this place where we're sort of just lucky and happy to get groceries. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're in a family-owned house, and there's some things happening with that too. But you know, we're lucky in that sense. But yeah, I mean, so it would have been the choice most of the time is like take Matt to the doctor or get groceries for the week, and it's just like
right. And even if you could afford to go to the doctor, we know from people like PRISHA Mosley and whatnot, doctors aren't really, first of all, your doctor was Googling.
Yeah.
So doctors don't even know what to do, as we know. And we also know there's no medical codes for billing and all of that.
None.
So it's not exactly encouraging. It was just, so I was like, I either make this sacrifice to get Matt to a doctor that may or may not help us, or we eat for the month, or we pay for our phones to stay on for the month, or you know what I mean? So it was like, it's been so hard, like to just, and
there was one day though where she cracked and she rushed me to hospital.
Yeah.
Because I was having a seizure in the car, and then after it, I couldn't read. I lost my ability to read. Like I was on my phone, and the words they looked like a different language to me when they weren't. Like, and she was like, "No, this is it. I need to take you right now." And the worst thing about it is the doctors literally gave me an MRI, and that came back okay because it wasn't a tumor. But instead of checking in other areas, they just signed me out. So I went home with no answers and a huge medical bill, which I still haven't been able to pay, by the way. Like I haven't even started.
To be honest, we're kind of just ignoring it.
They send letters all the time. Yeah, just ignoring it because like it was crazy. They had me in for like
5 hours.
5 hours, and I came out with over a $9,000 bill.
No, it was 6, but still.
6? I thought it's gone up now.
Well, and
it's freaking huge now. It's huge now.
I don't care.
But even
no one can afford that, and it was a diagnostic. It's not even a treatment.
Yeah.
And by the way, how long has MRI been around? Come on, we know it doesn't cost $6,000 to run you through the machine. Let's fucking be real. It's ridiculous.
They also gave Matt a low dose prescription of lorazepam, which is like a sedative for seizures. It's just not. It
was a very small prescription though, to the point where I had to pick and choose which seizures were so bad I needed it. Like I couldn't just. So I had to like suffer through several because I was like, I was scared to use them.
I was also using a tincture that someone was kind enough to send in for us to try, and that didn't, I mean, it didn't really seem to help that much, I'm being honest, but it was very kind of them to give it to us. So I've experimented with different ways to help Matt calm down, but it's honestly just had to run its course. That's what I've decided, and a lot of it has been like diet and exercise, fasting, detoxing. We've been in touch with NICOLE SIROTEK, who is also part of the film. She has also worked with us, and we've partnered with her supplement line to just get us both on track. I've been on like stress supplements because I've just been like, like not okay. But Matt's been taking like a neurological booster, extra vitamin D. You almost always have a deficiency of vitamin D.
It's just weird because I had that even when I lived in the UK, but you'd think moving to Arizona, a sunshine state, and I don't stay indoors. I like the sun, but I've just got an issue with vitamin D.
Well, converting it, right? Because like you can be sun, but if something isn't allowing it to process or whatever, we're all low in vitamin D as far as I have to take a
Yeah.
supplement as well, but I know for you, it's
One of the craziest things, though, is the naturopathic doctor said that this damage the testosterone had done had actually made my deficiency even more dangerous, to the point where it was at like I was at a critical health level from it that it could have killed me. And they prescribed me the highest dose possible, which is like over
It's like 10,000 units.
10,000 units.
It was like this paste, this vitamin D paste.
It tastes like, not that
glue.
I eat it, but it tasted like PVA glue, how you imagine that would taste. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah, we've tried all kinds of things. We've tried the natural route, that mainly because it's more cost effective, and because, like, people have been nice enough to support us in that way as well. And like, we're so grateful for that, because there have just been times where I struggle to even get out of bed because I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
right.
And that's been hard, and we're just it's baby steps at this point, because I'm glad that Matt seems to be recovering, but we're not out of the woods yet, I can tell. So it just, if we're not careful, Matt will get set off by some kind of like food, or you have some head pain right now.
I have some head pain right now, but I'm just
Yeah.
trying to ignore it. It's like I get this weird thing where it travels like around my head like this, and it feels like my head's in a vice.
Mm.
Yeah, and then there's like those times where you feel like your head's on fire.
Yeah, that drives me insane. Like it's like a internal. Sometimes it's not just my head. Sometimes it's my whole body.
Well, it's like a menopausal thing, but like I'm times 10. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just there's so much going on, and I wish that I was just a millionaire and we could go be traveling to specialists and things like that, but I'm not. And I think people think that we're a lot more successful than we actually are. It's just the reality of things. I'm living in my mom's house trying to figure out, month to month, day to day, week to week stuff.
Right.
And that's all we've been able to do for like, I don't know, a year and a half, basically. So, it's baby steps. It is what it is, kind of thing. Cliches, whatever.
So Matt, you've been feeling better, and you definitely, I mean, you look different from even the trailer for the movie. You obviously look physically different, and you look healthier. And I know you're saying you're not out of the woods, but so you quit the hormones how long ago? I'm just curious.
About 2 years ago now, I'd
2
say.
years ago.
But I still have so obviously my cycle came back because I came off it, but I'm still in that bracket of premenopausal, postmenopausal, and pregnant. So like I have menopause symptoms, but I still also have my cycle, and I suffer from terrible pains around my ovary area, and so I'm probably gonna have to get an emergency hysterectomy at some point.
God, I hope not, but
I'm probably gonna have to, and like I get sick every month around my cycle because it sets my hormones off again.
You get sick when we travel too.
And
If we're away for too long, if we're around crowds,
get sick.
Crowds can make Matt sick. We come home, and the last really bad time was, what was that big trip we came in when we were both sick for you were sick for weeks, but I was sick for a week and a half or so. I can't remember where we went, but we came back, and we actually thought, like, is this COVID? Like, is this what this is? Like,
oh, it was Phoenix.
Was it?
That was Phoenix. We went for my birthday. That was Phoenix.
Yeah.
Well, what we see a lot of, like in the feed, people who are aware of the gender things that are going on, and they're sort of like in the fight, like everyone that we know on Twitter and X, whatever it's called. We're seeing a lot in the UK specifically, when there's protests or large crowds of people that have transitioned, specifically women that have transitioned. There's a lot of people walking with, I know in the UK, they're called sticks. We call them crutches here. Yeah. But there's a lot of that. Do you know anything about what's causing that? And have you experienced anything? I mean, I think the all over pain might have something to do with some of that, but you're not.
Testosterone can cause osteoporosis.
It makes your bones a lot weaker, and I now suffer from terrible back pain a lot of the time. This weakness where like I had to start wearing a posture corrector because I didn't have good posture anymore. I was slumped like this all the time where I was so sick and my bones just weren't strong anymore. So I still deal with that, but my posture has improved. that I look a lot different from the trailer because I got so ill that I was like, I need to try and eradicate anything that could add to me feeling sick. So I've like put myself on a really strict diet, and I make sure I walk like 2 to 3 miles a day. We got a walking pad. That's like the least I can do right now. I'm still struggling with weights. I'm trying, but I'm struggling. But I noticed that with a lot of the food being poison in this country, when I was eating, it was making my symptoms worse because it was adding the gut health issue. So
Mm-hmm.
like I've lost about 30 pounds since that trailer.
Oh, wow.
And that was only last
February.
last February. And when I was at my sickest, I hit like 194 pounds, and that's like it was kind of a dark time for me because I'd in the past I'd been through this really toxic relationship where I became really, really big, and then I lost it all. So when I got sick and I started gaining weight again, nowhere near as much as I had been, but I it was making me depressed as well with
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I was at 190 at my worst when I got ill, and now I'm in the 150 bracket. So I'm doing pretty good with that, and I'm noticing that eating a higher protein diet is helping me in some ways. But yeah, I'm just trying to keep track of that because I need my body like to be looked after as much as possible with all this other stuff going on. But I still can't avoid the hormone issues around my cycle. Like it's
Right.
but
And
I get sick for about a week before and a week afterwards.
I'm assuming you're not on anything like you're not on any estrogen or any hormone replacement therapy or anything like that. You just
No,
got to wait for the body to recalibrate if
yeah,
you
it's
can,
like
right?
people suggested like because some people were like trying to pressure me into detransitioning, and that made my mental health the worst it had been since I was sick because like I am who I am. These changes are permanent. I'm gonna look like
Right.
this the rest of my life. If I tried to
Yeah.
look like a woman right now, I'd look like a trans woman. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
and if I put estrogen in my body right now, it would just screw me up even worse the other way, you
So
know?
that's not, yeah, that's fucked, man. Once the chemistry is messed with, that's it.
It's
And
really difficult to come back from that, and if
Oh,
I don't know, it's in some cases you can't come back from that. And it's not like the top surgery can be undone. It's not, you know what I
right.
mean? A lot of things would have to happen to recover or
well,
detransition. And that's just
the other crazy thing about it is there's like a weird situation with my case, and that's that when my mum was like pregnant with me, she was told the whole pregnancy she was having a boy, to the point where when I came out as a female, even the nurses were like surprised by it. And then when I had my blood test before I started testosterone in the UK, because they have to check you can handle it, they told me I had 10 times more testosterone in my body than a female should naturally have, but I didn't have PCOS or anything like that. So like when I was on T, I have like I couldn't even handle estrogen because even if I eat things with soy in it or high estrogen foods, it makes me incredibly ill.
Hmm.
Like so it's really, really like it's strange. Like when I was in the UK when I was on testosterone, it kind of did actually balance me because of that, where I had the higher T levels because I wasn't on a crazy dose, and I actually felt like some improvements because my hormones were just always screwed. Like
Hmm.
I remember when I was 13 as well, my mum took me to the doctors because she was like I kept like having bloating and gaining weight, and when I wasn't even eating very much, and they were like PCOS normally is in older women, but they thought that it could have been in me as a teenager, and it wasn't again. So like is all to do with what I found out later on, that I had these crazy high T levels, but not to the point where I should be prescribed what I was prescribed, and I'd never take it again because it just made me so ill.
Yeah.
So now I'm stuck in this limbo where my body doesn't produce estrogen very well, and I still have natural high T levels, but I'm stuck in that weird bracket now where I can't balance it out, and it's messed up from all the damage. And I just don't know if it's ever gonna iron out properly. I mean, it's been 2 years and I'm still suffering, but at least I'm not having the full blown seizures like I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like almost constant for a minute. And I grew up with someone who had epilepsy, so I recognized what's called absent seizures.
I
And
get those,
they
yeah.
can be really hard to detect unless you've witnessed it before, because it basically looks like someone's just sort of zoning out.
Hmm.
But it's like the person at their keyboard and their brain has walked away. And they
Yeah,
can't move, breathe, react, like anything like that until it just like comes back on. And that was happening every couple of minutes.
Oh,
when I get
wow.
them as well, like I still get them sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's a really weird feeling because like I can see you're talking to me, I can hear you, and like I'm cognitive, but I cannot move or speak or anything. It's kind of scary. It kind of feels like you ever seen the movie Get Out?
Yes.
And he like sinks in the floor and he knows that she's there, but he can't. That's how it's kind of like how I feel like it is because
To the sunken place.
it's like I'm
Yeah.
hostage in my own body and
Yeah.
I can't do anything. And like one time, I had one that lasted like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's a
terrifying.
crazy that feels really long when you're like someone's talking to you and you're like,
Yeah. It was really scary for me because I'm like, Matt, hello? Oh my God. Okay. And I'll try to time it and then,
Right.
that kind of thing. But yeah, that was happening like constantly the day I decided to go to the ER, because between that and the actual seizures and then Matt being like, hey, I suddenly can't understand words anymore. I was like, okay, we're gonna go. And then they didn't help us at all. So I was like, why would I want to do that again? And then I'm having to make these financial decisions, and I'm like, well, why would I go to a doctor if they're not even going to help us? Nobody seems to know what's going on or what this is. There are no experts in this right now. There's no path to detransitioning. There's no, and I think Matt just wants to like just stay like this,
Yeah.
that's it.
the changes have been made, they're permanent.
Right.
Like it's not like I'm gonna wake up one day and look like a female again, like I'm stuck this way. Like that's literally how
Well,
it
you were
is.
never feminine.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. Like even before I started testosterone, like it's kind of funny because before I started the testosterone, my friends thought that I already sounded male and they thought that I already looked male. But when I look back, now I'm like this. I just look like a lesbian, like I really did. Like, but it's like it's kind of weird how I still managed to kind of pass like that. But it's only because I changed so much that you can see it. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, the most important thing is your health. I mean, I only know you like this, so I'm like, this is great. This is perfect. This is fine. You know? Um, Good golly. I don't know much about your story about how the two of you met.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, so I went like I went viral at the beginning of 2020.
Okay.
I was still living in the UK, but I went viral because like I was one of the first people on Instagram to start really like posting about like the trafficking and
Mm,
all the stuff like that,
Oh,
right? And
tell the
like
Diana story. Tell it, yeah. Just
yeah,
a little.
so
It's a little deviation, but this is so
like
cool.
to
all
the
right.
most modest part of it, like one of the main reasons I went super viral was because I did some really deep research on the British royal family and Princess Diana, and I exposed how they killed her and they killed Dodi and all of that. And I became friends with Camilla Al-Fayed herself because she saw my research and she sent me a message, a voice clip, thanking me, saying her father would be so thankful for me because he died trying to fight for all of that, and that the family had been made to feel crazy for years and years and years, and me exposing that and confirming I was completely right about it, like my research was so good that Camilla Al-Fayed invited me to London because she owns a restaurant now. She's a wonderful human being, like she is so wonderful. But that was like such an honor because like I was worried, I wanted to be true. I wanted to put this research out there and do it right. And the fact that Camilla was like, thank you. Like, because I went so deep on it, exposed how the Queen had been guilty for 10 missing Indigenous children.
That
She
was like
got
10,000. Was
no,
it
it
a
was
lot
10.
more?
It was
10?
10. She
Okay.
took them for a picnic.
No,
No,
sorry,
that's
sorry.
probably the true number, but
Yeah.
the one that she got found guilty for was she there was indigenous children. She took them from a school for a picnic. They were never seen again.
Yeah.
And she was actually found guilty for that, but it got covered up because she was the Queen of England. And then I connected how Prince Charles gave Jimmy Savile keys to Buckingham Palace, and how Jimmy Savile literally used it as a trafficking hub. And they killed Diana, they killed Dodie to cover, because she found out what they were doing. And JFK Jr. was also a part of it. He was with good friends of Diana, also going to blow the lid. That's why they killed him. So I released all this stuff, and I also had highlights on like Nickelodeon before this documentary came out. Everything in that documentary was in my highlights. Disney. So like I was like kind of known on Instagram for all of that stuff. And then one day I find out that apparently people on TikTok are starting to like talk about the trafficking and stuff. And I see this video of this girl with green hair talking about how she used to be very, very left, and she wouldn't have even pissed in Trump's coffee and stuff like that. And I'm like, this girl's pretty cool. So I find her on Instagram and I send her a DM, and I'm like, do you want to come on? I had a podcast that I was doing at the time, and I was like, do you want to come on my show? And she never saw my DM, and I saw that she had an email address in there. So I was like, I'm gonna try it. So I sent her an email. She gets back to me ASAP on that. So we booked a live together.
You lost an account that day.
I actually got my account deleted 1 hour before the show, but I managed to make another one and like email her like, I haven't forgotten you, like I've got a new account. Like, so I did the show still.
Did they delete you because of the subject matter?
They deleted me because of all my research I was putting out. Yeah.
That
Because it was getting too much attention and they didn't like it. And so then we started like having like smokes together on video call. And then we had one more live together, and I didn't notice because I'm pretty gormless. Okay, like if someone flirted,
you guys are so fucking cute right now. You guys don't know what your faces are doing, but I keep catching both of it's horrible. It's so normal. Okay, sorry, keep going.
I'm so gormless that like someone could flirt right to my face and I'd be like, "Bruh." So like I don't realize, but all of her followers are noticing that she put more makeup on than usual for the next live, and they're in the comments saying it, and I'm just oblivious to it completely. And then we're having a call like the next day, and she turns around to me and she's like, yeah, after the last chat we had, I realized I was thinking about that conversation a bit more than I probably should. And I was like, does not compute. And then I'm like,
what does she mean?
Yeah. And then I'm like, are you trying to tell me that you like me? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, just like, I'm like, she likes me. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, at the time I was in a really, really toxic relationship, and I was mentally checked out. It was to the point where I was like, I didn't even want this guy to come back to the apartment. I just wanted him to go away.
He cheated on you so many times. Multiple times.
Down with him.
Well, he was a compulsive liar, and he told me he was a sociopath. So I was just
that was like, what?
And I was in just like a really dark place, and then here comes this like shining light, this like beautiful innocent person, and and I was just like, maybe I do deserve better, you know. And I was like, I'm gonna leave him, and Matt's like, I live in England, and I was like, I don't care, you know. And so we had to just kind of figure that out. And we just like got lucky every step of the way. Like I moved away, I moved back in with my mom because like I don't know, I had to start over. And that was like COVID was still in full swing, and they gave out a stimulus check, and then my grandma gave me Christmas money.
Because I had like, so I'm quite spiritually in tune. Like before I found
that was before the first time. No, you're skipping steps. You are skipping steps. I'll tell you. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You are.
Wait.
Sorry.
I am.
Because I remember this. So I had just enough money to fly and see you the first time. Remember that?
That's right.
And then I was in England for like almost a month. I did not want to leave. And I spent like all of February and I think 2021 at Matt's, and we had our first Valentine's Day together, and like it was weird because COVID was still a thing, and I was supposed to like not go out, and like they were gonna come check on me, and they never did, which was it drove me nuts. But and then travel was just crazy. But I flew home and we were just like, what are we going to do? And the travel restrictions were getting kind of crazy, and we were worried that they were going to make the jibby jab a requirement, and neither of us wanted it because we
Yeah.
already had a feeling that bad things were going to happen, and we were just against it, and it's not that I'm like full anti-vax, but like this one, I just was like, they put this out too fast and I don't want to take it. So we were like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And we were like sitting around for months just thinking. And this was the now you can tell your
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
Now you can
So
tell your story.
like before I like found God and everything, I was a platform medium. Like I was like yeah, I used to like work in spiritual churches and give messages and things before I found Jesus. Um and one day, this is when I'd already found God at this point. I'm like feeling really like miserable, like how are we gonna see each other? Like because at this point flights are like $4,000 because of the
My
travel
God,
ban.
right.
Like it was insane, like and everything. And I'm just sat in my room and I hear this voice say, Jude's gonna get a surprise on Sunday. No, this
At the
week.
end of the
At
week.
the end of the week. But
That's what it was.
you can't tell her because she's not good with surprises, right?
I'm not.
So my friend's with me, and I'm like, Aaron, I just got a message that there's a surprise coming for Jude this week, but I can't tell her because she's bad at surprises. And he's like, okay, well, let's wait and see. So like it gets to Sunday and nothing's happened yet, right? And Aaron turns to me and he goes, anything? And I was like, nah. 5 minutes later, she texts me, my nan just gave me 10K. And that ended up paying for us to get married. It paid for me to be able to get to the United, Jude to come and get me. Because here's the thing, she booked me a flight. But even though we were married, because she hadn't come and seen me since the marriage,
Mhm.
they classed it as by proxy, so they turned me away at the airport. So she had to last minute come and get me
Yeah.
Oh.
and bring me back
Yeah.
into the country.
Well,
And
I
it
just
ended up being the perfect amount of
yeah.
money for that to happen.
And because the thing is, I had this weird feeling that it was kind of like a now or never situation. I was like, if I don't book it now and go, like something is gonna happen. And literally 10 days after Matt landed, they made the vaccine a requirement
Wow.
to travel. So we would have had to take it, period, to even go see each other. The only loophole in the travel was you can bring spouses at the time.
Yeah, and we were going to get married anyway.
Yeah.
We were going to get married anyway, but here's another spiritual thing that had happened that was crazy, right? So we didn't know how we were going to get me to America because of Biden's travel ban, right? And I had this crazy dream. I had this dream that I saw this man with golden hair and he was wearing like armor and white. And he said to me, I need you to Google me when you wake up. He's like, because I am known for something. My name is Alexander the Great, and there is something that I did, and it's what you're going to do to be able to work around this stuff, right? Then I saw me and Jude at the Grand Canyon. I didn't know that was in Arizona at the time. I
Okay.
thought that was in Canada, right? So I see Jude and I at the Grand Canyon, and I see two wedding rings, and then a sword went between them, locking them together. So like I wake up and I'm like, Alexander the Great said to Google him. So I Google him and I see the story of the Gordian knot, where he solved an impossible situation by thinking outside of the box. So then I thought, okay, Grand Canyon, wedding rings. That's what I saw. So I think we need to get married. Anyway, we found out you can get married online on this website called WebWed. And we were going to get married anyway. So that was a way that both our families were able to witness.
Uh-huh.
And then she ended up having to come back and get me after we got married. So my landlord, who's a druid, did us a beautiful wedding ceremony at this place in England called Knowlton Henge. It's an abandoned church, and we got to have a real life ceremony after that too before we flew back to the States. But that was how, the outside of the box, because I wouldn't have been able to come to America if it wasn't for all of that.
Yeah. Isn't that nutty?
That's crazy. What prompted grandma to give you the 10K?
It was like an early piece of an inheritance from a property. They're in real estate and stuff. My grandparents were like really into real estate, and it was just one of those things. It wasn't even my birthday. It was like April. I was like, "What?" And it was I'd been telling her like I didn't know how I was going to see Matt, and I really liked Matt, and he lived in England and stuff like that. And she was just like, go get him, honey. And I was like, okay. You know, like she was just like, you go get him. So like, yeah, basically, I mean, I didn't ask her for anything. She just turned around and gave it to me. But I pulled up this little picture.
That's the church.
God. Wow.
Get one of our pictures
Oh
up of
yeah,
our
yeah,
wedding.
hang on.
That's beautiful. I love your grandma. Oh my God. She's
She
like,
passed away in June. She passed away this June. This one.
oh,
I'm trying to get one like for a little further out so you
I
can.
love
There
it.
we go. Like
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's so cool.
it was a really beautiful day. But yeah, it just the circumstances just we have these little blessings like whenever we need stuff to happen, it just happens. And that's crazy. So like I'm for we're in this sort of period where yes, things are kind of hard, but they'll work out one way or another. As
It
they
always
have.
does. It
Yeah.
always does. Like the fact that we wouldn't have been able to get me any healthcare, and then God put these lovely people in our path that were able to help me get
Yeah.
healthcare. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like every time we start feeling a bit defeated and beaten up, we just know that he's gonna come through because he always
Yeah.
does. Like,
We always get blessings exactly when we need them.
I have
So
a similar situation with my husband. Like ever since we've been together, like we're always like financially struggling and things are always really hard, but somehow things always work out the way they need to. So I'm just like, I'm gonna just assume that it's always gonna be okay, even if it's
oh yeah.
difficult. So yeah.
I heard this phrase on TikTok. It made me laugh. Like it's called the ominous optimism. Things are gonna be okay whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
you're
just
so right.
yeah, so you just it's like it sounds negative, but it's just like you're gonna be fine whether you like it or not. So I try to make it a little humorous for myself and I write letters to God at work and we just pray on it a lot and we're on our own little faith journey. It's ours, it's personal, and we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah. What's happening with the film right now? Where are you at with the documentary? What needs to be done? What's been done? What's
We need right now, we're a bit stuck financially. We're looking for an angel investor. We had a potential one, but he had to drop out last minute.
He might come back.
He might come back though, but it's gonna be a while if
Yeah.
he does. But we're planning a little bit of filming in Arizona next month. There's a few people here we're gonna have in the film that
We're actually gonna get a lot of if we can pull off what we talked about, we're gonna get a
yeah.
lot of content.
Yeah, we're gonna interview SEAK Smith, the head of Mum Army. We're gonna interview Beth from the organization Gays Against Groomers. She is ex-law enforcement. She was a sheriff's deputy.
oh
So
wow.
she's goes into really incredible stuff about how we're seeing all this like disgusting stuff at pride parades, the sexualization, things like that. Well, the police are told that they're not allowed to do anything at pride parades because it's anti-gay, so that's why they're getting away with it all. They're
Yeah.
told they can't arrest anyone. They have to let it happen.
Well, it's more than that too. I mean, 'cause basically what we're using the film as an opportunity to break open all of gender ideology and expose like every aspect of this agenda and how crazy it actually looks and how far up it goes because there's this global coordination to normalize this mental illness essentially and stop people from questioning it and run over, a women's rights to do it and put people at risk, put girls at risk. And if you question it, you're a bigot, you're transphobic, you're this, you're that, they demonize you, they villainize you, they turn all this stuff against you. I mean, even Matt gets told to shut up for telling his story because, oh, you're going to ruin it for everybody else kind of thing. But yeah, basically
They
we
hate
want to, yeah. And then we've got Patriot Barbie on our side. She's on our roster for interview because at one point she asked us to rally with her in a Buckeye school board meeting because one of the board members had decided to transition at 70 years old.
After his wife died.
Yeah, this old man, basically his wife died. He started wearing her clothes and he sued Patriot Barbie Lindsay for even mentioning that.
And the worst thing about it was the lawyer he had wanted to go so far as to get her children taken away from her. She was trying to push it in court that she should have no kids.
Yeah, for questioning this person who wanted to go into the little girl's room.
Oh, and he was going in the little girl's room and forcing the kids to call him Miss.
It's disgusting.
It's just weird. And a lot of these men, there's actually a phenomenon of men trying to become their wives.
Yeah.
It's it's a form of autogynephilia, and it's something a lot of people don't even know about. They don't even know that's got a name. And there are other trans activists that deny it's even real.
And that's crazy though, because there's so much photographic evidence of men who turn around to their wives, divorce them by saying that they're trans, and then they start looking exactly like their wives.
Spooky.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I happen to have the inside scoop because I know a trans widow, TRACY Shannon. I've interviewed her before. She's very outspoken. She's been on all the shows.
I've heard of her.
You probably have. I'm sure you've heard her speak or seen clips and whatnot. But before they leave you and take on your whole persona, they're secretly doing it the whole time. Borrowing clothes, using your cosmetics, shaving their legs, doing all kinds of weird things in the house with you still there, trying to get you to go along with it and get involved in it and join the fetish and do all these weird things. It's a horrible phenomenon that a lot of people don't know about. I mean, imagine
they're always addicted to porn.
And always addicted to porn. Yeah.
Every single time. It's because they've been in all these weird porn niches and online talking to people about it. They're getting slow. They're convincing themselves through like the internet algorithms and through the pornographic content that this is them now. This is what they want. And they're just going to wreck their whole lives to get it and not care who stands in the way or how they feel about it.
It's insane.
And, so it's something that we're going to touch on in the documentary. And the other aspect we're going to touch on is that traffickers actually want trans kids more now than anything else.
Yeah.
They're making more money from them. We have several stories from people that this has actually happened to. We met this girl's grandma who had been taken away from her grandparents and trafficked twice because she wanted to be a boy. And she's home now, needs a lot of therapy, and doesn't want to be a boy anymore. But she told her family when she came home, these people want trans kids. That's going to be a big part of SEAK's interview as well. She's going to be there to discuss this trafficking aspect and talk about a few stories that she knows. Because we had interviewed her once for the documentary, but we didn't go as in depth as we wanted to. And so we're revisiting that with her because, I mean, some things have happened since we started filming and we have to kind of adjust as we go. And like I said, we want to use the film to address like every aspect of what's happening surrounding Matt's story to give people essentially informed consent. Like this is what can happen. This is a dangerous agenda behind this stuff. There's no money in protecting people as much as there is in exploiting them, but especially children. But, the fact that there's a global effort to encourage children to get interested in like sexual topics and gender transition and things like that. And they're calling it care, and they call it hormone replacement therapy, despite the fact that you're not replacing anything. You're flooding the body.
Oh, yeah.
It's hormone flooding. It is not replacement. And the puberty blockers that they use can cause osteoporosis in women, in little girls. They've already proven that. It can cause testicular cancer in boys. They've proven that. And 64 to 94% of these kids are going to grow out of gender dysphoria by the time they reach adulthood. There's studies on that. I mean, I can pull all these sources out. If anyone is questioning this is what I do. I write about this stuff. And I actually have an article coming out with Gays Against Groomers. Keep an eye out for it, discussing the trans to trafficking pipeline and some of these statistics with sources.
I'll get links from you to put in the show notes as well, just to make sure everyone has easy access to see all that. Because I already know all of that stuff is true, but the audience will obviously.
Yeah, you know how people are. They're going to be like, what do you mean? Where can I find that? And then.
Because the narrative is the opposite of that, and they hide all of the real information. The child trafficking thing, are you familiar with Brent Bowlby's case? There's a few cases. This is just one guy. I can't remember all of the details, so I don't want to like bastardize it, but he's basically lost custody. He's one of those parents that's lost custody of the kids so that the other parent can trans them.
A lot of times it's the father. Have you noticed that it's the women that are taking kids away from their dads?
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is. So this guy, Brent Bowlby, he went to jail and we did a live while he was, after
Oh
he
yeah.
did like a 5 hour live about it.
You were talking about that. I think you mentioned this to us when we
Yeah, he's out, thank God. I don't know. I know I think he has a lawyer. I don't even know. I don't even know what's going on with his case. I haven't, there was another space about it the other day, but it's hard to keep up. And there's another big case in the media right now that's another father. So it's like
Yep.
hard for me to keep all the
Yeah.
details straight.
We're in touch with Adam VENA, who's also fighting for custody of his son, and bless him, he's really taking it really hard because and I think my theory on why it's mostly like women taking their kids away from fathers is because women are more easily emotionally manipulated because they're more compassionate, they want to be seen as more supportive, they're very emotion based, and so all you have to do is be like, well, your kid's gonna kill themselves if you don't do this, and they're like, oh, I don't want that to happen.
I'm
Oh,
the unconditional loving one. I'm the one who loves my child no matter what. And I'm going to, of course, validate.
yep.
It's
And
Amy Souza calls it the empathy trap.
yeah.
Yep.
So they're really weaponizing emotions for this agenda and basically turning kids into permanent medical patients. And I mean, someone like Matt's gonna need to get checked on like every few years of their life, if not more, even after the fact. Like I wish I could be getting Matt to specialists like on the regular right now. But
Yeah.
we're doing the best we can to maintain, and things do seem to be improving. So we're trying to make a path for people who are in a similar position. Like if you're financially strapped like we are, there's a few things you can still do to cleanse your body, to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And we want to make a path for people who are on the other end of this, who are dealing with regret, who are dealing with damage. And eventually we want the film to be shown at like, say schools, for like high school, so that kids understand what can happen and what's behind all of this and what a serious decision it is. But the other thing is it's happening to some really young kids, and we're gonna have to figure that out. And there's what I'm worried about with the Trump administration making this federally illegal, which is great. There's going to be a lot of backlash, though. There's going to be people who want to rebel against it. There's going to be like, well, how do I get black market hormones for my 5-year-old? And that's what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a lot of damage control to do. And hopefully with Matt's story out, the medical community is going to realize like, hey, we actually need to make a space for these people because we're going to see a lot more of this. Since so many kids have been funneled into this, we're going to have to deal with the aftermath.
Yeah.
What's so interesting about, and I know you guys already know this, but just for the audience, Matt, your case is so unique because you're not going to detransition. And there's going to be a lot more people like you that are aware of what's happened and understand like, oh, fuck, I've been duped so that I am now like fucking up my body. You're kind of going to be like the bridge in a lot of ways. I'm sure you already know this, but
That's
because
the
there's so
point.
many people that are so anti-trans, and I've always been very anti the ideology because my speech was compelled in school and I was like, this doesn't feel like America. Like something feels fucking weird right now. And I'm old. Like I've never had this feeling before, which is how and then I read Abigail Schreier's book and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
So that's my journey. But like, you're already here. Like, we're not going to stop you from existing. And I'm not going to like be an asshole to you because like, I'm just like not an asshole. Like I love everybody. I want everybody to be happy and all of these things. But like, there's certain people that are very no trans, that's it, hard line, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, but what about the people that are just, they're already here or they made a mistake or what, like, or even if they didn't, we have to, I don't know, we have to make room for all different kinds of people. And I just think, I don't know, your position's just so unique. It's unique and different because you're trans, but you know that trans is bullshit. Right? Like it's a whole, how do you describe this to people? And how do you think of it? And also I don't want to say or anything offensive,
No. It's like I know I'm a biological female, but like I said at the beginning, like I always felt like I'd be more comfortable presenting the opposite way.
Yeah.
But I don't deny my biology, and like I feel more comfortable looking like this, but even though I wanted it, I still got sick. And as an adult,
8 years down the line.
8 years down the line, like I thought I was absolutely fine for quite a while. I thought everything was great, but it wasn't. And like Pamela Garfield, the truthful therapist, she always says about me that she thought that I was the one trans person who it went great for. And then she watched me get sick. She
Mm.
watched me get sick and she was like, oh shit, it it didn't go it didn't go great for him, you know, like. And so it's like
Well, you had that
I
blip where you were trying to go back, but it was like not feasible.
well, yeah, I touched on that a bit earlier that like some people were pressuring me because all I want to do is help kids. That's what I'm really passionate about. Like the one way I cope with the health issues I've got is by trying to be a voice for the voiceless.
Yeah.
So when I had some people on the far right turning around to me saying, you can't speak for kids unless you detransition, I caved because I thought I can't help kids. Okay, I'll do it. So I started going by Amy again. And then I suffered worse mental health than I did before I even got to transition because I'd taken so long, take the health side of it out of the picture. I
Yeah.
took so long wanting to feel comfortable in my own skin just to basically be pressured into going back into that freaking box that I was trying so hard to get out of. Like, yeah, I got sick, but that doesn't mean I don't feel comfortable like this, you
Right.
know, in like how I present. And it's like it also made me really realize what these kids are going through because these kids are being peer pressured into transitioning. And
Yeah.
I was getting peer pressured into detransitioning.
Right.
So it's like we want this film to be a bridge. I want people on the right to see this film and to have some understanding that not everyone in the trans community is trying to push this stuff. We're not all like freaking crazy like that. And also, I want the left to be able to finally see a film that isn't made by conservative figureheads because every documentary on this topic right now is made by, no disrespect to him or anything, but people like Matt Walsh,
Right.
who he's very strong viewed, and someone on the left is never going to watch that.
Right.
Whereas if you have someone there who's like, I'm trans, but like I got ill. This is to bring awareness. You need to see this, like, because I also don't want I also don't want the youth who are suffering from gender dysphoria to see these documentaries like by people like Matt Walsh and think there's something fucked up about them and that there's something wrong with them and they have to change because there is nothing wrong with them. Like they are perfect how they are. Like they can't help how they feel. Like it's just
Right.
a thing. Like, I felt it as a kid. I don't want them to, because here's the thing: a lot of this stuff is rooted in trauma as well.
Right.
And if a kid watches a documentary and they're told that they're a freak and a weirdo because they feel a certain way, that's going to cause more trauma.
Yeah.
Like they just need to hear this documentary and be like, okay, so there's nothing wrong with me experiencing this, but it might not necessarily mean that transition's right for me. Like it could be a phase. I could be suffering from something else, and I need to learn to feel good about myself first. And that if I do want this when I'm older, well, one, you can't tell adults what to do. They're going to do what they want to do. But at that age, it's absolute no. Because if this happened to an adult, then what is it going to do on a child who isn't mentally or physically developed? But I really like the way I'm going to be in this film is it 100% honest about everything. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I want to be as, because the truth's important. Like if you can't get through to people unless you're authentic, because people see through that. they
Yeah.
they know if you're being real or not. So like I just want these kids to be able to watch this film and be like, okay, I'm not a freak. Like because gender dysphoria, like most humans experience body dysmorphia or some way.
I had.
Most, everyone has something about their body that they're not comfortable with. It's just a fact. They do. Like no one looks at themselves and thinks, I'm perfect.
And puberty is hard for
Like, and
everybody.
puberty is hard. And gender dysphoria is actually very close to body dysmorphia. It's pretty much the same thing because gender dysphoria, like body dysmorphia, is a feeling. It's a feeling that you are in the wrong body, but the truth is on the matter, you don't know that because you haven't been in the other body. Like that's something that I
Right.
matured with and I started to learn. Like I may have felt like I was male, but I didn't actually know what that was because I was never biologically male. you know? It's a feeling.
Yeah.
And gender dysphoria is a mental illness. And it needs to stop being stigmatized, because if you do stigmatize it like people are doing, like it's not a mental illness and stuff like that, then you're taking away care for people who actually do have it and really need it. This whole thing of self-identification and things, like when I came out as trans, oh my God, I was a novelty. I was rare, because you
Right.
see more males transitioning to females, right? When I came out as trans, people were like, they had no idea how to deal with me. They were shocked because, you know, I first came out as trans in 2009,
Oh, that's a long
right?
time ago.
Yeah, and I was only 17 at the time, and I
Sorry.
Were you still at home? Like, how did that go? Hello, who is this?
yeah,
Hello?
so handsome he is. But I was 17 years old, and my parents again still weren't happy about it, so I ended up moving with different part of the UK to live with my nan and my auntie and my cousin for a bit, and I just started identifying, like, as no medicalization, but I started living as Matt. And then I ended up moving back, but I had college and stuff to think about. Like, I used to want to be in performing arts, and if I'd have started my medicalization at 18, I wouldn't have been able to finish my course. So I was identifying as Matt for a very long time. Like, I didn't start hormones till 26, because by the time I finally was able to go down the path, I had a huge waiting list. And this is what's crazy about how things are today, right? In the UK, there's only one gender clinic. It's the Tavistock Institute, which has come under fire for being unsafe for children. But when I first started going to my appointments, so I would see my general practitioner, right, in my hometown, and then you'd get referred to the gender identity clinic, which was the Tavistock Institute in London. Now, my first few appointments in London, it was just me and maybe a trans woman or another trans man, right, in that room at one time. By the time I got signed off for my double mastectomy, I was seeing parents in there with young kids, and the waiting room was full. So that just shows how fast this rapidly accelerated. Like, this is a social contagion.
Ooh, can I tell my Tavistock thing?
Yeah.
Sorry. On jumping on that. Okay, so some of the research that I dug up while I was, because I'm the writer of the film and I want to lay out all these facts, right? So I've been digging really deep. The Tavistock Institute started this gender clinic. I think it's the GIDS, right? Anyway, so the Tavistock Institute was formed as a form of British intelligence to conduct human experiments.
Yes.
Right. And they worked with the US Army to do this. It is literally mass human experimentation.
Isn't it left over? Isn't it part of like Project Paperclip and all that shit from like World War II? Isn't it part of like
Some
the
of it, yeah.
Unix and all of
Some of
that?
them were scientists that were brought in, and I do believe one of the leading scientists or psychologists, whatever it was that they brought into the Tavistock Institute, was one of these, like, basically a Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted, he had like some just psychotic studies that a normal person would be like, absolutely not. And the institute was like, yes, here's some money.
Yeah.
Like, when you look into it, and I mean, there's going to be some research in the film on that too, because when I found that, I was like, that's insane. So basically, this is a branch of that.
Yeah.
It's all an experiment, and people need to know the facts. Like, again, we don't want to tell people what they shouldn't do or should do, and to go full anti-trans is not going to work. We can't have black and white thinking. You can't tell adults what to do. They're going to do it, but you need to know what this is all based on. You need to know that essentially the protocol that all of this is based on as well, the Dutch protocol, is based on failed experiments. It's based on the fact that that trans adults weren't getting better. They weren't feeling better. The negatives were falling off. The outliers were getting, undocumented. They were basically trying to make it look like a success when it wasn't. And so they turned around and said, well, maybe we should just do this sooner.
Right.
And that's what all this is based on. Failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's experiment on kids and see what happens if we stop their puberty. Well, we're seeing what happens. It's not good. And the fact that it's not being reversed is criminal.
I don't know how people can think that this is reversible. They're severely misinformed. And I mean, even professionals are being told this, and they're being told to tell other people this, and it's not correct. And I see studies of this all the time. But yeah, as Matt was saying, it is a social contagion by every definition of the word. It is something that you have to be exposed to, recruited to. You know, a lot of kids wouldn't even consider this if adults weren't talking about it.
It would never pop into your mind to think. I mean, I was a kid. None of us were like, hey, guess what? I feel like I should be a boy. I mean, it literally never happened. It never happened.
Other than Matt, Matt's kind of a rare case. We didn't, I mean, Matt didn't even know what that was at that age. And it was just something that persisted. And again,
You know what? I'll tell you, I have an aunt. Maybe you'll meet her someday, who knows? But I have an aunt who she talks about it all the time. So I have my oldest uncle, this is on my dad's side of the family, my oldest uncle, then my dad, then my aunt, and then her little brother. So she's right here surrounded by 3 boys. And she talks all the time about how when she was little, she was so mad that she wasn't a little boy. She wanted a penis, the whole thing. She would talk about it. She would throw fits about it, tantrum. It literally never turned into anything. She was just jealous of her brothers because she thought they had something she didn't have, like, which they probably thought the same thing about her, like, oh, she's probably getting spoiled or what, who knows what the fuck they thought, but she was a child. And she still talks, she thinks it's ridiculous and funny. She's like, you know, has 3 grown children and tons of grandchildren, and she's my favorite aunt, and there's nothing, she's not nothing. It was just a childhood fantasy.
yeah.
She clearly grew out of. How did you get started on doing the documentary? How did that even become a thing?
Yeah, so
That's a huge undertaking. I mean, I've always wanted to make one. I'm actually talking to somebody.
There's so much more to it than I even thought, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so we went to America Fest again last year in December. And at
What's
that
America
point,
Fest? What is that?
it's the biggest conservative convention, and it takes place in Phoenix every year. Charlie Kirk runs it as Turning Point. And
I'm, you know, a former bleeding heart lefty liberal, so that's why I don't know what that event is. I'm like, what is
Yeah.
it?
I didn't know either because I also used to be a registered Democrat. I
Yeah.
never would have cared about that kind of stuff. But honestly, it's so fun.
Like, and they're the people on the conservatives are the only ones who want to hear these issues.
I know.
This is the thing. The left won't even talk to me. I would talk to them if they were willing, but they won't. They tell me to kill myself instead. So like
Whole reason I started, so I had a podcast years ago that was just me talking about my life and bullshit, and only just like my friends and family listened to it, whatever. And then I was in school, and like I told you, my speech was compelled. I read Abigail Schreier's book. I was on Twitter. I saw Helena, one of the detransitioners, one of the OG like detransitioners, and was like, holy fuck, what? But that was all happening while I was in school. And I was like, the minute I'm done with school, I'm firing that podcast back up. And this is what I'm going to talk about because I know that none of my lefty friends know because I didn't know. I only knew because I was in school where they're brainwashing everyone. And since I'm old, I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
These young kids don't know any better. But as an older person, I was like, this is all some bullshit. So I make the show for my friends and family. They don't watch it. None of them do. None of them do. It's too heavy. It's too much. I'm too extreme. And then
Oh my God.
sudden, even though they've known me my whole life and my personality's not changed and how I am, but just all of a sudden it's too much. So I understand your plight.
Cognitive dissonance, you know, it happens.
Go on, good.
But yeah, so we were at America Fest, and it was before the Beneath Sheep's Clothing documentary was released, so they had a booth there, and we're walking in the hall. We come across the booth for the film, and the filmmaker Steve Sorensen, he's a huge fan of Gays Against Groomers, and he sees that we're both directors for the org, and he's like, "Tell me about you." So I start telling my story to him, and he's like, "Well, listen, like, we should meet up. We'll film a little interview, and then you can release it, like, so people can watch it. Like, we'll spend like 20 minutes or something, right?" Anyway, he comes to Arizona. He starts filming. We film for about 2 hours, and then he turns around to us and he goes, "Guys, this ain't an interview. This is a full-length documentary. Like, this needs to be more like that." And then everything else just started to fall into place. People got on board with the project. We got some great people involved. Obviously, there's CHERIE, there's Nicole SIROTEK, America's Frontline Nurses. Then we've got Pamela Garfield, the truthful therapist. We also have, we're meant to be having Mia, the author of the WPATH files.
Okay.
Whistle-
Whistleblower, yep.
We've got a co-founder of Segum who is most likely going to be involved. We got like a distant approval. We have to kind of touch base with her again. I saw her lecture on the Dutch protocol that I mentioned earlier about how this is all based on failure. And
They fudged those numbers for the audience. They fudged the numbers. They threw out the results they didn't like. They did everything unethical that you're not supposed to do. It's not science. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, we know someone very close to her and who got in touch with her and was like, yeah, she would be interviewed. So we have to circle back to that, but I have written an interview for her. So fingers crossed that she still would like to be involved. Because I mean, we thought the hormone specialist would want to be involved and he ghosted. So, we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants here. But
Susan Olsen,
Cindy
from the
she's
break.
so cute.
She's
I love her
amazing.
so much.
Lovely.
I didn't even get to meet her at Cherie's show. There was just so much going on. I was like, oh my God, there's Cindy Brainerd. But I know I'll meet her. So I was like,
we wanted to, like I said, we wanted to hit every single aspect of this, including, music and Hollywood, and acting and stuff. And so she had some things to say. We've got obviously,
JAIMEE
members
and
of our
SASHA, that
for
JAIMEE,
sure.
founder of our
Beth.
org, and her wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beth.
which one? Sorry. Who were they?
The founder and her wife of Gay Against Groomers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, obviously they're going to talk about like meeting us and what they wanted to do with the organization and our whole mission statement and everything. And again, we don't want to just completely go anti-trans because that's not helpful.
No.
Like you said, there are people that are already there.
You're here.
They're not going to go away.
Get along. Yeah.
And we understand that. So what we're just trying to do is lay out the facts. So, if you're one of those people, we don't hate you. It's not that. That's not what this is about. And Matt's going to keep living this way as well, and it's been a process. So it's not that. We just want people to understand how we got here and what can happen in the future, and the fact that they're pushing kids into this with no way out. There is no path for detransitioning, and they're lying about the regret rate. They're lying about, how these kids are so sure of themselves. They're never going to grow out of it. They most likely will.
Yeah.
So
there's all those old, I'm sure you've seen those old, they're like old testimonies in like the back of New York cabs from the 80s. And it's like old transsexuals. These are like old videos, and they'll be talking candidly like, oh, I had my friend, they had the surgery and now they're depressed or they want to kill themselves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those testimonies, and they're like, so I didn't do, like, I'm happy just to stay like this because I know if you go further, all of these things, the hormones, and that's been going on since the 80s, those testimonies.
Yeah. Well, do you want to talk about why you didn't go further?
Well, it's just the phalloplasty surgery, the bottom surgery is just absolutely barbaric. Like, I didn't even need convincing not to have that, because it always seemed insane to me. Like, there was always reports of it being a very low success rate. You have no sensitivity after that. Like, it's anyone who goes ahead with that surgery, I don't understand what they're thinking. It's just actually insane.
I'm gonna assume
I can understand that they're desperate to feel better, but
it doesn't even look like a penis though. It's crazy.
It's crazy. So you've got dysphoria, which we've, you established, it's very close to just regular body dysmorphia because it's something visual. It's something about your body that you can see that you want. It's not like, oh, my heart's the wrong shape. It's not that. It's visual. And so if you already have dysphoria about the way you look, how the fuck is that going to make it any better?
Exactly.
Either direction, man or woman, because none of those surgeries are acceptable.
Yeah, and it's like the way I saw it as well is like normal people don't tend to go around flashing down below. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So for me, it was always like, as long as I could present this way, I was comfortable.
Right.
Like, that there is nothing that could sweeten that deal. That is the worst surgery. I don't even know how it's allowed to happen. It's barbaric.
And not only, okay, so it looks horrible. It doesn't function.
Ruins your arm.
And no pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. They have to use a
How are you
pump.
convincing people to give up their orgasms? Now, I know how you're convincing children because they don't know what the fuck it
Oh,
is.
they ain't got a clue.
They're
Yeah.
not even going to be able to have them by the time they reach adulthood. Like they're going to be completely sterilized by drugs.
And they'll never know what they've given up.
Drugs. No,
Horrible.
I'll have no idea. I mean,
So
Chloe
what the
Cole
government's going to offer them,
about
it just popped in my head. They're going to offer them a VR set that takes them on some kind of drug trip because that's the only thing that's going to make them feel
Yeah.
anything in life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Chloe Cole touches on this a little bit. I think she has a hard time talking about it, but
Yeah, bless her.
um,
Lovely.
she has alluded to the fact that she's struggling with this as well and is worried that she's never going to like have the full experience, basically. And she's just just so uncomfortable with dealing with that. And it's, yeah, bless her heart. It sucks.
Just think of
She's very young.
every doctor involved in taking that away from another human being.
Criminal. Yeah.
This is how, I mean, is this how you ended up finding Jesus?
No, I think for me it was all slightly before this. It was when I was in like a really dark place slightly before I met Matt. I was starting to get there.
Uh-huh.
And Matt and I both like talked about it, and it really solidified when things started to get bad when Matt was already here. You
Mhm.
know, you can't trust doctors, you can't trust therapists, you can't trust like anyone involved in this. So how do you cope? You know, and I've gone through, you know, taking SSRIs, those didn't work out for me. You know, so I was like, what do we even do? I was like, pray. You know, so then I started reading the Bible regularly. Matt started reading it, and we were both like, you know, let's just keep going with this because it's helping us get through, and at least we can always look to God and be like, you know,
Yeah.
God's going to take care of it. He brought us here. He'll bring us out, whatever it is, you know. And you know, we occasionally face criticism for that because it's like, oh well, you're technically gay, so being gay is a sin. If you don't basically divorce and like separate, then you're going to hell. And I'm just like, that's none of your business. And again, like this is how we came to our faith. That's just our personal journey. Maybe don't worry about it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, I only ask because we talked a little bit about this when we were hanging out a couple weeks ago, but I mean, I'm definitely on some kind of a journey. I'm looking into things more. I'm loath to say too much or make any kind of label just because I've been the way I am my whole life, and this is just like new, but I'm definitely learning a lot more about fuck, it's so uncomfortable to say it. Isn't that funny?
I get it. No, I get it because I used to be into witchcraft and it can be difficult to be bold about it in the beginning. And you know, I still get criticism for it online for talking about it amongst the extreme hardcore Christians that are like, well, what you're doing is a sin, so if you don't ship Matt back to England, then you're screwed. And I'm just like, how
That's
does this
not,
I that's not happening. So, you know, I think we're going to keep following God. You
yeah,
can't gatekeep Jesus, and you also can't let other people ruin it for you because it's about relationship over religion. You know, he's
yeah.
going to speak to you how he's going to speak to you, and that's between you and God.
The monstrosity, the part about doing the thing to the children, like the evilness of it. So, Matt, were you following Jesus prior to meeting Jude then? I'm just curious what
I
your
was
path
trying
was there. You don't even
to
have to share that too either. If you're like, that's not what this episode's about,
no,
baby.
no.
But
I was trying to figure stuff out. So 2020, when I went viral for exposing all that stuff, I realized that a lot of these people in power literally worship the devil. And I had this scary realization where I was like, oh my God, like if the devil's real, then God's real. And like, mm,
yeah,
No, it's okay.
I just like felt shame, like, because I was like, oh my God, God didn't turn his back on us. We turned our back on him.
mm,
And like, I had this moment that I mentioned in the trailer where I was standing in my room and I was like, because I'd gone viral exposing this stuff, I realized that that was him. Like, because I was a shy person. Like, I wouldn't have gone live even on Facebook to a couple of friends. And here I was being a voice to thousands and thousands of people on the internet, exposing something that could essentially have got me killed, especially when it went as deep as the Diana stuff and Camilla Al-Fayed and stuff like that. Like, I was connected to literally Camilla Al-Fayed, like, exposing this stuff. And like, I stood there and I was like, okay, I can see you're trying to knock at my heart. You're trying to summon me for work. Like, I am yours. Like, I will do anything you want me to. Jesus, please, right? And then that peace came, that like overwhelming peace. And like, suddenly I wasn't crying because I was scared. I was crying because I've never felt that before. It was beautiful. And I knew, as scary as it was, that I would not be the same again. Nothing would be the same again. And like, it was very overwhelming, and like, it was like a calling, and I knew I just answered it. And then I started looking into God and finding out that God's work is the hardest work, and it doesn't come easy, because his kingdom, you know, you got to earn your place there, because it's like humanity is basically given God a huge FU for a long time, and it's really sad. And they've blamed him for things that humans have done.
Yeah.
Like, humans have done this shit, and they've turned against him. And like, the moment I fully gave in was when I moved here, because again, I was still kind of shy, and I got doxxed. That's how I got out of this trans. I was doxxed online by a guy I used to do a podcast with. He doxed me to all his followers, and like, I went viral because I made a video, like, scared people would turn their back on me for my research because I was trans when they found out. But I got a lot of love. And then I kind of kept quiet, because I've never been that person. Like, you see people in the community who are like, I'm gay, I'm trans, look at me. Like, that's the least interesting thing about me, you know? Like, I never wanted to make that my personality. I was just me. And one day I see that disgusting Rachel Richard Levine standing there on TV about how we should empower trans kids. And in that moment, because of how serious that shit was, I forgot all about little me and my feelings, because I realized this is above all of us. This is children who need protecting. And I just went on TikTok, and I pressed record, and I just let rip about how this stuff to the kids is disgusting. Pride has turned into the most depraved event I've ever seen. How I would never want to associate with these people. And right after I uploaded it, I heard that voice, the same, and that feeling, the same feeling I got when I called on Jesus, right? And the voice said, "Are you ready?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, I was freaking scared, right? I was like, yeah. And I could feel this like tension building in me, like this, you know, when you got the nerves when you're about to do something really big, like say you're about to go on stage and sing to people or something, and you get that feeling in your stomach, right? I get that feeling. Within an hour, the video had 100,000 views. Conservative Ant picked it up, and JAIMEE messaged me, "Would you like to be a part of Gays Against Groomers?" This was 2 weeks after it started, the organization.
Wow.
And
we were OG members. We were like the first on board with some,
Did not
like,
know
it
that.
was like a dozen people maybe
yeah,
were in it.
and then the next thing, going viral all the time.
I had
And
no idea any of this about you. I had no idea that you were like an Instagram, TikTok, viral. I didn't know any of it. And by the way, that's a testament to the fact that what you just said, you're not like, hey, everybody, look at me. Like, I had no idea.
I
You were
didn't
chilling.
expect it. When I first started, even when I went viral for this exposing the truth stuff, right? I was just trying to wake. I'm from a very small town, and I was just trying to wake them up to the New World Order. Well, they called me a domestic terrorist, got me banned from Facebook, so I had an Instagram account, right? So I started posting there instead, and I woke up to, at first it was 5,000, then it was 10,000, then in a month I was at 30,000. And I was freaking out, because I'm a shy person. I still get nervous before doing interviews. Like, and now we've done these big interviews at America Fest with like Breitbart and things like that. And like, I still have to pinch myself, because I have anxiety. I am a very shy person, but I truly believe this is a calling, because this would have never happened to me.
Yeah.
This wouldn't have happened to us.
Yeah. I mean, when you look,
Like,
our circumstances are insane. When you think about even just how Matt and I found each other, how we got together, how Matt got to America, how like
the odds were against.
it's
Like,
insane.
I could never be an atheist again, because this is the thing. Like, the people who don't believe in God, he just hasn't moved in their life yet because they haven't allowed him to. He's knocking on everyone. If someone's watching this right now and they're an atheist and they feel like a slight tug, because a lot of atheists are feeling something's not right
They
now.
want proof.
They want proof.
Deep down, they want proof.
This is the thing, right? God is not a genie. We've all been that person who's been like, God, if you're real, make my ex take me back. That doesn't work like that, okay? He ain't going to answer you if you're just using him like you want three wishes. But if you call on him and you really mean it and you truly want to, like, I talk to him like I'm talking to you right now. That's what he wants. He wants people who truly know he's there and want to actually be a part of what he's got to give.
A relationship.
A true relationship, like one that no matter what you do, like Paul was literally a murderer.
Yeah.
He was a literal murderer and God anointed him. It's like people don't like, this is why I get like strange about the people who are like on the far right, who are like, oh, you're an abomination, you're going to hell, God hates you. God chose a murderer. Like, he loves all of us. And the Bible literally says, Jesus said, all who are weary come to me. Not just Mr. Perfect over there, all of us. He loves all of us. And he knows we're sinners. We are told we are all fallen. No one is perfect. That's why he had to come.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point of it. Like, God knows that we're a little bit damaged, but he loves us anyway, because he knows we're not perfect. And he came in human form to experience that so we could understand that we're not perfect. But like, it's like one of the craziest things, when I first went viral, I started freaking out about being trans, okay? Because I was like, why would God ever love me when I'm trans, right? And I was like, I felt apologetic, and I was like, because of how the comments I was getting from the hateful people, I was feeling like I was a mess, and why would God ever love me? I'm an abomination, I'm this, I'm that. And then and this is before I even read a Bible, right? Because I was an atheist when I found God. I was raised atheist. I had no knowledge of the church. I'd never read the Bible. I used to call people Bible bashers. I thought they were stupid. And now I feel really bad about that. But like, I was feeling bad about myself, thinking I was this disgusting being. And then I heard in my head, Matthew 5:8. And I got out the Bible and I looked it up. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. That's what he cares about.
And Matt doesn't even know the Bible. So
I didn't
like,
know
that
the
was
Bible.
insane to me.
And so this is the thing, right? Like, he doesn't care if you're not perfect on the outside. If he can see your heart and he knows you're full of love,
you believe in him,
and you believe in him, and you love him, and you truly mean it. Like, this is the thing. You can't finesse God. You can't lie to God.
No.
He knows you better than you know yourself. So it's like, as long as you try to be the best person you can be
for him,
he's got you.
Yeah. And there's a
he
lot
just wants people that are real.
It's a combination of faith and works.
Yeah.
You know, they say that faith without works is dead and works without faith is dead, et cetera, because it goes hand in hand, which means you believe in him, you believe in his sacrifice, you accept his sacrifice, and you do your best every day to do work for him, to bring people to him, to protect the innocents, to have a voice for the voiceless, you know. And so, and we know that God knew us before we were born. We know that he knew exactly what we were going to do in life. Yeah. And so that's why we ignore people who are still hateful to us about this and still tell us, you know, like, well, you're still living in sin. So, and I'm like, isn't everyone at this point? Isn't it impossible not to, because of the way the world is, because of how far we've fallen at this point? Sin looks different. Sin has evolved. Sin has grown 7 heads. Like, it is just a monstrous hydra of depravity, and there is no escaping it except through Jesus. And that's where we're at, you know, and that's because, you know, and I never thought I'd be someone who would say that either. Frankly, like, I was raised Episcopalian. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was boring. I got into witchcraft. I got into, you know, dabbled in this and that. And I had my own moment of come to Jesus where he said, summer of 2020 in July, I hadn't met Matt yet. He said, I have a job for you. You're gonna be speaking to a lot of people, and you're gonna have to just keep going and trust me. And I was like, that's insane. And then I went viral and I met Matt.
What'd you go viral for?
Basically flipping from Dem to voting for Trump.
Ah, yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
But the people credit me as one of the first big libs that did it and was exposed.
You
That
were.
I led a lot of people to do the same thing. So, and shout out to Elle, some bitch I know, because I call her my internet mom. She basically birthed me by putting my video up. And then there was also one of my first interviews was with a Canadian man called Info. It just Info. So I don't know.
Mr. Info.
Mr. Info. Thank you. Yeah, shout out to him. Those are the first two people who basically like found me and picked me up, and then I just was off, when going down like every single rabbit hole and talking about it all with people, and like my Twitter account went up to like over 50,000 people in like a week, and it shut down because they thought that I was like a bot.
Oh, right.
And I was just like losing my mind because
Well,
people
you
were
got
being
posted by Trump War Room as well.
did, yeah.
Ooh.
I went viral like twice, like once when I came out and then once when I voted and talked about it and was like, I never thought I'd do this kind of thing. And it just kind of kept going, and so that's how Matt found me. But again, the circumstances are insane. Like, and because of the way that we've both been reached spiritually, we are believers, and nothing is going to straighten, we're never going to not be believers again.
One of the craziest things that happened for me, actually, this is way before 2020. This was 2018, right? And so way before I ever met Jude or anything, when I was still a medium. So I had Weekly Circle. My landlord hosted it because she also like ran the spiritual church. And we had a group of us that would sit in circle, and one of them was this guy called Anthony, who he was the best tarot reader I've ever met in my life. Like whatever was working through him was always correct. And he was so good that he'd get on the phone to America from the UK in the early hours of the morning, and he'd get paid tons of money, like to do these readings, right? So I'm in circle one day, and before I had spoken to him that day, I was flicking through angel cards because I used to draw a card at the start, right? Anyway, I'm an atheist at this point, and I pull an angel card, and it says, soon you are going to be called to do God's work. And I'm like, what's God's work? I don't even know what that is,
Yeah, you're like, what does it even mean?
I was like, all right. So anyway, then I'm sat with him at the end of the session, and I was like, Anthony, can I have my cards read? He's like, yep. And you know how like the near future can be up to like 5 years? That's classed as near future. Well, at the time I was auditioning for X Factor, and I'd got through 2 auditions with the executives. So
I've got a lovely singing voice.
I thought at the time my reading that I was about to get was about that, because I was told that soon I was going to be a public figure, and a lot of people were going to want to hear what I had to say, right?
That's exactly what I was told as well.
I was then told that I was going to meet someone from America while I was doing that work, and I'd actually end up moving to America, and the relationship would grow. We'd be married, and I'd end up staying in America. Well, hearing this at the time, I'm like, it's got to be X Factor. That X Factor ended up getting cancelled, but they did a celebrity one instead. So like, I forgot about that reading for a while, but it was saved in my phone. 2020 comes. I go viral for speaking out about all the stuff in the world. I meet Jude, and I end up getting married and moving to America. So I was given the foreshadowing 2 years in advance without even knowing it. And I truly believe, because of the coincidence of the card I pulled, the angel card, and the reading, that it wasn't a normal tarot reading I was given that day. And if demons can use tarot cards, so can God. And I think it was a slight nudge of where it was going to go, because it came true completely, and I now know what God's work is.
And you're doing it.
I'm trying.
That story. How closely have you been, and yeah, we're going to wrap it up soon. How closely have you two been following the Diddy thing?
Oh yeah.
Somewhat. Have you seen any of Misha's testimony yet? Do you know who Misha is yet?
I think I have, yeah. I've been I've been checking in on this stuff every now and then because I'm just, I'm a little jaded about it. I'm like, I mean, what's even gonna happen? And nothing went anywhere with Epstein, and and then there's like the Trump haters that are like, well, he's never gonna release the Epstein list because he's on it, da 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 da. Even though you can actually go into the documents and prove he flew before the island was purchased and he didn't go there and he went to New Jersey one time and da 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 da. Anyway, he's also one of the only people who actually helped the FBI catch Epstein.
Yeah.
So
I just feel like Trump won't even drink alcohol, so
yeah,
I don't know what kind of dastardly deeds he's up to if he won't even drink alcohol, but go on.
no, the theory is that he got close to Epstein to get him locked up. That was the whole point. Like I don't know how people expect undercover work to go, but it's gonna look like you're friends with someone until you do them dirty, right? But anyway. What was I saying? The Diddy stuff. Sorry. Yes, I think that stuff is kind of all connected. I think it's all going to lead to the same sort of network of people. And that's why I think Hollywood is so quiet and people are starting to leave the country. Ellen DeGeneres. And
I exposed her in 2020.
oh yeah.
You did?
Matt does not like Ellen DeGeneres.
I was one of the first people to expose Ellen DeGeneres because I hate that one. And like I'm talking before it came out that she was mean. I already knew how far it goes.
How?
But
How did you know?
she was putting out some very questionable videos in 2020.
Okay.
And in one of them, she was wearing yellow, the sign of a canary, right? And she was walking down the street saying, looking very, very ill and terrified, guys, I think we need to listen to what the smart people are saying and walk. Well, my brain has always worked overtime, and SMART is actually the organization that takes down sex offenders and pedophiles.
Yeah, it's an anagram. I forgot what it's called. The SMART.
Yes, the SMART. And she was wearing canary yellow. She was a canary in a coal mine. She was screaming. She was trying to get. And a lot of also other celebrities that I exposed were also making questionable videos because the lockdowns were in place.
Coded
and they were trying to communicate because they knew they're actually about to get exposed for the things they've been doing. Then I started watching more footage of her and discovered she had a lot of Marina Abramovic spirit cooking artwork in her house. And lots of pedophile FBI known pedophile symbols in her house. She had and she was also covering up that she was wearing an ankle monitor. Another thing about her that I realized was she was making videos, making these codes. And in one of the videos, she very tactically placed a huge chain of keys at the front where the camera, she was on the sofa, but she had a table right near the camera with a big chain of loads of keys. It was the exact keys from the documentary that was going to be put out called The Silent Children that ended up getting Chris Cornell killed.
Oh, now how do you know that? How do you know these? I know you're digging.
I was exposing Pizzagate
man.
like crazy, and I'm gonna be honest, like because I was the one putting out all this research and like waking up a lot of people, my mental health got really bad because I was having to look at this content a crazy amount. And like the way I would do it is every day at 7 a.m. British time, I would put out a whole story highlight with details linking everything. I exposed Tom Hanks, I exposed Ellen DeGeneres, I exposed Barack Obama, Oprah, the royal family, like I mentioned, Nickelodeon, Disney. I even broke down films like Viva Vendetta and how it had preluded to COVID, and the scenes that were about the church and all that stuff that goes on. I exposed so much, and I went through a very serious dark night of the soul because of it. Like I was very like depressed. I had to watch footage of Planned Parenthood ripping babies apart.
Yeah, I saw that too. It's bad.
This world is a really, really evil place. But I'm telling you, Ellen DeGeneres is a monster. And there is a reason why she's fled this country, because she is a pedophile. And
or at the very least a trafficker. Like
she is a trafficker. She was selling freaking children online. She was selling them She was selling $10,000 pillows named after missing children.
Yeah.
Oh, where was she selling those through? This is part of that Wayfair thing too, right?
Yes, it was Wayfair. It was Wayfair. She was selling $10,000 pillows on Wayfair named after missing children. I exposed that too.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing that people like to they shed a lot of doubt on this whole like Pizzagate thing, and like I don't like using that word myself because like it just
No, but
maybe
Comet Ping Pong is real.
nobody wants
It's real.
to listen to
They
it.
don't, but it's true.
But when I looked into it, right, there was a conflicting interview from James Alefantis, the owner of Comet Ping Pong. He denied having a basement one year, but one of the previous interviews a couple years earlier, he talked about how they do a harvest in their basement, like word for word. He talked about harvesting things in his basement and then denied having one. Why would you do that? You know, and it's bizarre. Like, and I understand that, you know, there's some negative connotation with all this stuff with like the letter Q, whatever, Pizzagate, it makes people crazy. They don't want to listen. But there is some stuff there's truth to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And the Clinton emails are real as well.
Yeah.
And the news gaslit the entire public because when it came out that those emails had leaked, they said on the news that it would be illegal to read them. No, it's not. No, it's not. And the reason why is there is hard proof in those emails that Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Podesta are all trafficking children. Please tell me how this could be innocent. Why did adults, John Podesta and Hillary Clinton, have entertainment at their pool party that was aged 8 or 9? And it literally says that and names them. Why would you have young kids for entertainment at your pool party?
Oh, the story of the guy who contacted you about his daughter and the dinner.
Yeah, so I'm not going to name him.
We can't.
Because his safety and everything. But when I first went viral in 2020, I had a ex-Hollywood actor reach out to me asking me if I could expose a story for him because he was scared that if he did, his family would get murdered and he would get murdered. Now, he told me that a friend of his children and his daughter's friend's child had been trafficked by Catherine Oxenberg and Casper Van Diem at their house during Hollywood parties. They were passed around like candy when they were like 11. And that his daughter had been dating. In 2020, a story came out that Steve Bing, who was an associate of Jeffrey Epstein, had thrown himself from a balcony and killed himself from his apartment building. Lies. Steve Bing was dating the actor who reached out to me's daughter. She started looking into child trafficking because she started realizing something was going on with Steve and that he was guilty of something. The day before she died, she went to dinner at the Clintons. Right after she went for the dinner, she told the actor who reached out to me, her father, "Dad, I need to tell you something about Hillary." The next day, she was dead. The news said she had a Xanax overdose. The autopsy said unknown. And he's too scared to speak up himself because he has one daughter left and he's scared she's going to get killed.
Well, the other detail she said was that there were naked children serving at the dinner.
That was a different story.
Was it?
Yes, that was the Playboy
that's
model.
another story, yeah.
Yeah, so then when I went viral, I had a famous Playboy model reach out to me. She told me her dad got invited to the Clintons for dinner. And when he got back, they were like, the whole family was like, "Tell us what happened." He wouldn't talk about it. He looked really miserable. Then finally they kept asking him. And in the end, he was like, "I'm not going into detail, but the waiters were naked children."
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's so fucking bizarre. I bring up Misha because she has confirmed a lot of things. If you're following the Diddy case, there's a picture out at a white party of a woman laying down. She's got fruit on her body. The face is blacked out and people are eating. That's her, Misha. She's 32 or to 34 right now. She's been telling her testimony. She's a mess. This is new for her. It's the first time she's speaking out. I don't really think she should be doing interviews, but she is, and she's exposing. She's named J-Lo.
Well, yeah.
She, um, she talks about Diddy putting her in the tunnel, sending her to the Playboy Mansion. And this is all with her crying. And like anyone who's listening who's like, oh, here she goes again. I'm saying, watch these testimonies yourself. Don't take my word for it. But all of the things that she's saying is answering a lot of questions and tying a lot of things together as far as other testimonies and things. And especially, I don't know if have you seen that movie Blink Twice yet?
No.
We should watch it together. I have it. I've shown it as a Movies with Mel on X, and I bought it through Apple TV, and you can't show those. So then I had to buy, so I bought it twice. So I own it on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. I'm like, who wants to watch this movie that I spent all this money on? But the whole entire storyline into even down to particular details, whistleblower Jaguar Wright was talking about how she knew that Zoe Kravitz, who wrote and directed the movie, must have spoken to someone that was on Epstein Island. And Misha's testimony confirms that.
Oh God.
Because it's not necessarily an Epstein thing. It's a conglomeration of things that happened with Diddy and Epstein, the movie. But this girl, Misha, I don't want to give it away for people that are going to watch her testimony or for who watched this movie, but she mentions very specific things from this movie. And so now I know, like, this shit really, really happened. Like, it's...
Yeah, I think people don't understand the scope of it or how many people are involved. I mean, and it's, people like Oprah who were really close with a man called John of God. It was this religious cult leader who trafficked a bunch of children, and she was so gung-ho about him, da 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 da. And they're all friends with each other.
Yeah.
They're all friends. They all know what's going on. And the way that when you really sit and watch these people, like when you really sit and watch Ellen, she's so creepy with people, and she's so mean and weird. And like one of the reasons
them and scaring them, and
yeah, one of the reasons that I didn't like her is because I caught one of her shows one time where basically they had this little boy on who was like, I don't know, 6 or 7. They dressed him up in a little suit and they were like serving him these like mocktails. And I was like, why would you get this kid into alcohol culture at that age? Do you know what I mean? I was like, you're basically encouraging him to party and hang out with adults. That is weird to me. And like,
that's what you look at. Drew Barrymore was snorting coke at parties, Hollywood parties, when she was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting, I love blow as much as the next person. I mean, you can't do drugs now because of fentanyl, but I would never sit next to an 8-year-old and party. What the fuck kind of bullshit is that? That's insane.
Yeah. So this shit has been going on for a long time. A lot of these actors have been abused for a long time, down all the way back to Shirley Temple. Her and her mom have stories about the same thing, about like adults, like men propositioning them, both her and her mom.
Yeah, they both come out of separate meetings and talk about what had just happened. I read her book. It's on my shelf.
Brooke Shields was naked on the front of Playboy magazine at 10 years old.
He was playing a whore. In the movie, she's naked. I've never seen that movie, but I know what you're talking about.
I won't watch it. It's just, but yeah, this has been
going on. I would watch it.
So I think now it's only coming out now because we have all this internet access and we have people really scrutinizing these details and realize that like people like Matt are like, they're literally talking in code in front of our faces.
They are.
And if you've got a sharp enough mind, your instincts tell you something's not right.
Yeah, you can pick up patterns. The other thing that Misha, what else did there was another point. She had confirmed something. Oh, she talks about the satanic rituals.
Oh yeah, that's
she
absolutely
talks about it.
People need to come to grips with that because it's absolutely real. Satanic ritual abuse is way larger and more prevalent than people want to accept.
Not just in Hollywood.
No.
It's in schools.
All over.
Yeah, that whole satanic panic thing that they tried to make it sound like it was bullshit. No, it was all real. I hate doing that. I hate doing this because I know people aren't ready yet, but I can't not talk about it.
We're running out of time to warn people. It's gonna come out and it's gonna be, a suppository pill at this point. You're gonna have to take it hard.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take it no lube, like the way Matt and I broke in that woman at the party. I felt so bad. Remember, Matt? We're both like, sorry.
Yeah.
Enjoy
like, what? Yeah.
Enjoy, right. One other person. So there's so there's this channel called Real Life Street Stars, and they've had Jaguar Wright on a whole bunch of times, and she's been giving her testimony on that show. It's a YouTube channel. It's like it's like for hip hop. But Jaguar Wright was a singer. She's been around for 30 years. She knows all those people. She went to the Diddy party. She used to kind of like be a bad person, like, but blah, blah, blah. So she's been doing all the testimony. Okay, that show, a lot of whistleblowers from the Diddy thing have been going directly to that show. So there's this bodyguard security guy. God, I can't remember his name right now. It's like big something like.
I heard about this. Did he
Okay. He, in one of his most recent episodes, he came on with another bodyguard, and they're talking about just their job, not so much about Diddy stuff, but just talking about their job and what that's like. And he was saying, because they were asking, like, what about the satanic stuff? And do you believe in God? And blah, 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 blah. And he said, well, there are exorcists, priests that make, and there's not very many in the world. There's a few that do exorcisms, and they make a lot of money doing it because it's rare, but it's needed and it's very specialized, blah, blah, blah. They were hired. So anybody can watch this. It's a recent interview on Real Life Street Stars. They were hired to travel and work with him. And so they saw the exorcisms, and then he's like, yeah, it's all real. It's all real, because they had to like keep him safe while he was doing the.
Ooh.
It's just, I keep hearing over and over and over from people that are, I mean, yeah. So yeah, praise Jesus.
Praise the Lord.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're in denial, you're not going to have a good time. So if you're feeling that pull, if you understand what we're saying, try Jesus.
Yeah.
He's there for you.
Okay, okay, we're gonna wrap it up, but people can find you at Gays Against Groomers, of course. Go ahead and give your rundown verbally, but of course, again, I'll put everything in the show notes where we can find you and keep an eye on your work and follow what were you doing.
So I'm on X as It's Matt Ray. Same on REY. Same on Instagram, and then on TikTok they deleted my account, so I'm now still Matt Ray on there.
But you hardly ever post. Let's be real. You don't post very much.
I'm gonna post more.
Oh yeah,
That's all right. Well, you're not required to do that. It often feels very much
get
like
burnt out, but I'm trying to get back into it.
I've actually been trying to up my activity, but I'm pretty dang active right now. I just made a video on TikTok literally today, and I've been posting on Instagram. I just got my Instagram account back, basically. I was kind of locked out of the app like all summer, and it finally let me back in. So my Instagram is Hey Judith Rose. Yeah, I'm like double checking. I'm like, hey Judith Rose. Yes, sorry. And my X account is at Judith Rose 91. We've got I have a link tree that links to supporting the film. It links to our supplements that we take. You can get a discount if you use my code Judith, all caps. We also shop through the Patriot box that Lindsey Graham uses to get healthy products, and you can get information through my link tree on there too. And I am also on TikTok, of course. That's where I started. That's where it all began for me, of course. And my account is Hey It's Jude Rose, because I also lost an account and had to change that. So like some of my usernames are just slightly different just for that reason.
Yeah. TikTok loves to counsel everybody that I know, and everybody has to start a new account and start from scratch.
Yep. So there's a lot of ways to support us and things. And of course, Gays Against Groomers has always been there for us. So huge shout out to them. And if you align with us, consider joining. You can go to the website, gaysagainstgroomers.com, and watch out for my article coming out pretty soon here about the trans to trafficking pipeline.
Tag me and I'll retweet it too.
Awesome.
Just remind me of everything. I can't wait to see you again. I am definitely going to stay in touch. Let's say goodbye to people and then we can wrap up after. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Follow Matt and Jude and keep an eye on everything about the documentary Leaving Amy, because that is going to be really important and I'm excited for that. Do you have a projected idea of when do you think that the movie will be done?
We did, but I don't want to jinx it anymore. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
We'll
We
just
keep-
everybody keep your eye out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.